Any questions before we start the evening? Any questions on the cultivation of compassion, awareness, and wisdom? Are you cultivating compassion, awareness, and wisdom as you move through the day? That's what we're on about, right? That's what we're talking about. And that's what these classes are about. The meditation is part of it, but it's also the understanding that the practice is cultivated at all times to the best of our ability. There's always a chance for cultivating awareness. What are you doing right now? What's your mind doing right now? I think last week I mentioned, which I mention a lot, is it's really useful to know the mental state. So have you been doing that as you move through your day? Or are we just caught up in the projections of mind? We have to catch that. We have to know when we're caught up. It's okay to be following the projections of mind, doing the things that it is that we need to do, but know when you're caught. Can you step back? Can you let it go in an instant? And when you are caught, when you are reactive, when there is a mental state, do you know it? I'm feeling really dull right now. That's okay. The practitioner, to the best of our ability, just has a steady sense of knowing and not being pulled away. What is the mental state right now? Good? Neutral? Negative? Whatever. It's going to change. It's the knowing factor. It's the constant developing of the knowing that brings us strength to our practice. So we're working with that. And in that constant development of this awareness, then something else starts to shine through. Maybe not all the time, but it starts to shine through. There's greater calm, there's greater clarity, there's greater compassion, there's greater empathy, because we're not so caught up in our own story all of the time. We're able to listen. We're able to see what's going on around us. We're able to have compassion for ourselves, seeing how frequently we're caught up in. And for people around us, my, oh my, oh my. People need kindness. People need compassion. There's a lot of stuff happening every day, huh? Every life. Nobody escapes this. There's a lot of suffering around. And forget the world events and any of that, but just on your street, in your workplace, in your community of friends. We really strive, we really need to make our time worthwhile. Otherwise, we get born, we're caught up in stuff, and we die. You know? So if you have the gift of Dharma, if you've had those experiences of clarity, if you've had those experiences of insight, through the application of awareness and compassion, we need to water it every day. We need to water it every day. Do you know when the mental state comes up, when the thought comes up, do you know that that's not you? Do you know it's a momentary happening? And whatever it is you are is much wider and deeper than the cloud of mental state or thought that's happening in that moment. So we turn our attention inwards. And with awareness, we recognize where we're at in the moment. And we recognize it is not self. We begin to recognize awareness. We begin to recognize this seemingly continuity that is always there, but is not any of its content. And that's it right there. So we learn to rest in that. When you meditate in the morning and you open up into that state of awareness, you allow that state of awareness to flower in your consciousness. You allow yourself to be absorbed into that, even if it's just for a moment. You allow yourself to open up to that, even if it's just for a moment. You allow yourself to surrender to that. I take refuge. And when we have that groundwork in order, if you will, if we continually work with that, then it becomes a presence in our life. Then we acknowledge that presence in our life. And we spend a lot less time worrying about everything else. And when it becomes more of a factor in your life, then you begin to figure out ways to share it, to move it into the room with you when you move into the room, to bring it into the conversation when you're in the conversation, when you're in a conversation with somebody. That sense of openness, clarity, and compassion. Not being caught up in opinion or view, but really being present. And in that field and in that state, that's the birth of wisdom. That's where wisdom grows. And it happens all by itself. We just create the conditions. So what is it that you need to do to continue this work? What is it that you need to strengthen? What is it that you need to let go of? What is it that catches you up? Be gentle with yourself, but acknowledge it. It's a lifelong pursuit for sure. We are working with lifetimes of conditioning. If that makes you feel any better. One step at a time. One breath at a time, one step at a time. But when we recognize the mental state for the mental state, when we recognize for the thought, when we understand that it is not what we are, when we begin to have those glimpses more and more, it makes the path a lot easier and simpler. In some ways, we just have to allow that in. Allow it to be. Feed that. Water that. Water that plant. That's what we're doing. And we forget, and we get confused, and things catch us off guard. Things happen in our life where it's hard to keep it together. Maybe we have a health concern. Maybe we get some news about a friend. This is all part of it. But just don't lose that peace. Remember, it's always here. It never goes away. We go away. We go off on our little journeys. Through this mental state, through that mental state, through these feelings, these thought patterns. There we go. But it's gaining certainty in this thing. It's gaining certainty. If you've stuck with me for this long, as you all have, or you stuck with the teaching for this long, it's because you know it to be true. And you're just developing certainty. Day after day. But from that, beautiful things flourish, beautiful things flower. We can appreciate the beauty and the love that's in life. we begin to see more of that beauty. We begin to deeply appreciate the moments that we have now, the life that we have now, the people that we have now around us. We don't need to wait for another day, do we? The fulfillment's already here. What do you think tomorrow's going to bring? That's better than what you already have now. Except, of course, if you win the lottery. But it's already this. It's already here. Knowing the mental state for the mental state. Knowing the thought for the thought. Allowing that sense of spaciousness and awareness to fill you up. What is that? It's a saying somewhere. And it's not here, but it's somewhere in this room. Anyway, organization's not my strong suit. The past is the past. The future hasn't come. But it's always this. There's always this here to mine. To mine. And it's not in the past and it's not in the future. It's not going to get better and it's not going to get worse. They say no hope, no fear. What if there was nothing to add on? What if there wasn't something else?